All right, welcome back. I'm here with Ruth McLeod. Hello, Ruth. How are you doing today?
Hi, Jesse. I'm great. How are you?
Very good. So you're a longtime member of the Secular Hub.
Since the doors opened.
Since the doors opened.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about the Secular Hub? What kind of a place is it?
So the Secular Hub is essentially a community center for people who are atheists, agnostics, free thinkers, humanists, secular, whatever that can mean for you.
Right.
Someone who is non-religious. And we have anything here from social events, parties, lectures, movie nights.
All right. So, well, tell me this, because we're sitting here. We're in the Hub right now.
Yep.
What is it like? Can you describe it for me?
So it has 4 walls. No. It is a space that we found in downtown Denver. A brick and mortar place. It's just one big room, essentially. And we have 2 offices up front, kitchen, restrooms, AV equipment, obviously.
But it's very nice in that it's a building specifically just for secular, free thinker, atheist types.
Yes, it is. It's a room or a space that we rent constantly. So it's not, we're not sharing it with another organization in town. We're not renting it from a church, which would be hilarious. It's our own space.
Right.
And so we were able to come in, paint it how we want, put what we want up on here. It is our permanent space until our lease runs up.
Okay, well, tell me a little bit about the history of the place. How long has it been here?
So we are coming up on Darwin Day, which will be our 4th anniversary.
Okay.
We opened our doors officially February 12th, which is Darwin Day, 2013. And we have been around as a physical space since then. But the whole idea of the Hub, the brainchild of it, has been going on for a little bit longer than that. The Hub came about through 21 people who, from different secular groups within within the Denver metro area, that wanted to have their own space instead of meeting in bars and libraries and the back of churches. So it was a brainchild that took a while to come to fruition, and now here we are. So
there were 21 groups like floating around without a home?
There were 21 founders. So
21 founders.
So from the groups, I'm going to toss out a few of them. Boulder Atheist, Denver Atheist, skeptic groups, things like that were meeting around town. Of those groups, a few people came together and said, we need to find at least 20 people to put down $1,000 a piece to put seed money into doing this brainchild of ours.
All right.
And they found 21 people.
Okay.
So we started out with $21,000 to basically rent a space, buy chairs, tables, coffee, all sorts of stuff. And we've been going ever since. Okay.
That sounds very cool, like the legendary 21 who founded it all.
We have a plaque in their honor. It's right over there on the wall.
Okay.
So, yeah, and we still have a lot of our founders who are regular active members. We have some founders who we may not see very often, but we still love and cherish them and think highly of them.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, you said there are 21 groups a bunch of different groups that were all didn't have a home, and they're meeting at random places.
Yes.
It's very inconvenient.
Right.
And you had this group of 20. So, I mean, it sounds like there was a pretty strong need for it.
Right. And honestly, when I moved out to Denver, this was already in the works. So I remember coming to the Hub when it still had sawhorses, and they hadn't painted over the Obama campaign, because this used to be the Obama headquarters in Denver.
Right, because it was 2012 is when you opened?
Exactly, 2013.
2013.
So they were taking it over after the
right
2012
after the election.
Right.
So they were the tenants immediately preceding the Hub here.
Right.
Okay.
So when I came in, this was always a reality for me. When I moved to Denver, I had moved to Denver the year previous.
Okay.
And so with me starting to get into secular groups here, this was always an option for me. Whereas I'm from down south, having a regular place, a brick and mortar place to go to is unheard of.
Well, let's see. I mean, did you even have a regular, meeting with other atheists or like-minded people in the South?
I did. I was lucky enough that my university had a secular student alliance.
Okay.
And so I was actually a part of that. And I moved out here after I graduated from college.
Okay.
So.
That's when you got into atheism? What's your background as a religious versus atheist person?
So I grew up non-denominational Church of Christ. Went to church 3 times a week. I was baptized when I was 15, so technically I'm covered. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. I believed it mostly.
Yeah.
I had a lot
of questions. It
questions.
was just like easy to believe it because everybody else did.
Exactly.
Sort of. Okay.
And it was easy to believe, and it was very difficult not to believe, especially being down south. Everyone wants to know what your religious background is. Do you go to church? If not, why don't you come to ours, kind of thing. So it was difficult to have as many questions as I did. And then when I realized that having as many questions as I did was a negative, I kind of hid it from sight until I went to college.
Interesting. Did you ever have any examples of someone being non-religious in your earlier life, or was it just when you got into college?
I remember a high school friend who liked to watch the show Buffy. And she liked to pretend that she was Wiccan or pagan or something.
Okay.
And, I think every girl goes through a stage of that. I have a feeling that I'm going to get emails. How could you be against paganism?
My sister's still into it, and she's 6 years older than me. So
There you go. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think everybody tries to do something different sometime in their life. But anyway, there was this girl in high school. My mother found out about it. We were not allowed to speak with her or go to her house ever again.
Oh, man.
So
definitely some. Was it because she believed what she did, or because she didn't believe the right way, or both, or whatever?
Oh, probably a combination of both. I think it scared my mother more than anything else to have somebody different. Talking about spirits and crystals and witches and whatnot. So my mother was afraid of it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
When you were, this is kind of an aside. You said non-denominational Church of Christ. Mm-hmm. Did they go into the fear of hell very much?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I've always known what hell was, and I've always known that if you did not believe the way that we did,
you're going to burn.
You're going to hell.
Going to burn. Okay.
Totally.
Okay, I was just wondering. That's
absolutely
random.
Well, you gotta teach kids how to fall in line somehow. I mean,
be afraid,
you can't threaten Santa all the time. You gotta threaten something.
Right. You gotta put a deep, soul-searing fear into him.
And I'll admit this one. I still have moments where I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have that bad thought because God's listening, or
wow.
I still do, and it's really frustrating because I recognize it, and then I go, why? I know better. I know better. There's really no thought police. It's not happening. I'm allowed to secretly want to murder someone.
Right.
But only in my head.
Right. Or you can tell your best friend, but only if they know how to keep a secret.
Yeah, and then they'll hate them with me, and that's fine.
Fair enough. Okay, well, so you've come into the Hub here, and you've kind of made it your own place. Tell me about your role in relation to that.
So what I do now, I am actually on the board. I am the vice chair of the board. And I've been on the board for about 3 years now.
Okay.
I started off, I head the Denver Atheist Meetup group. And so a lot of things that I would do for the Hub, I would be acting as a speaker for the Denver Atheist. And then they eventually, at the Hub here, offered me a place on the board. So I took that. I'm also head of the events committee here.
Okay.
So if there's a party, if there's a lecture, if there's any kind of random thing that's happening, if somebody wanted to do something at the Hub, they typically will go through me or somebody in my committee.
Okay. Okay, that sounds cool. How much of your time do you spend here?
I am probably here 3-4 times a week.
Okay.
For several hours every single time. I have literally come here at 9:30 in the morning and left at 11 o'clock at night, and have just been here all day. I might leave to go get lunch, but usually I'm just here.
Just the inside.
Just all day.
Okay.
And that's not often. That's when something major is happening.
Okay. Well, like what kind of major things? Like events?
Like a major event. We've had a few well-known secular speakers come here. We've had Hemet Mehta, Matt Dillahunty, Aaron Ra have come here.
Okay.
And
they do. You have them do speeches, talks.
Yeah, we have them do a lecture. We'll sometimes have a fundraiser dinner to go along with that, just to kind of help us recoup some of the cost that it is to bring a speaker all the way out here. something like that is what will keep me here all day.
Okay, got it. Can you tell me about sort of traditions that have developed here?
So during the holidays, for secular people, sometimes it's harder. We don't always celebrate Christmas, or if we do, we get, chastised for doing so.
It can happen to some people, sure.
Yeah.
Some families, I guess.
Yeah. And then there's also the concept of a lot of people don't want to go home, or they're not welcome home because they are secular now. So a few years ago, I started hosting Thanksgiving here, and now it is a full-on tradition. We've done it every year since. On Christmas Day, we'll do Festivus, a party here, which, if you know anything about Seinfeld, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We have the aluminum pole and everything. It's fantastic.
Okay. I missed that one. But
that's probably because people like you and you probably went home to see family. Not all of us.
Yeah, I did actually this year.
There you go.
What about Darwin Day? Do you celebrate? And that's the anniversary.
Darwin Day is our birthday.
Do you have a party?
Yeah, so we do. We have we typically try to have a lecture here on Darwin Day. It's a little bit more of a educational holiday for us. We have a lot of good connections with the universities in Denver, and we'll ask someone to come and do a talk, usually on some kind of evolution topic. This year we actually have somebody who's coming in to talk specifically about Darwin, so it's really exciting.
Right.
I order a cake every year because I require it. I don't even ask permission anymore. The cake's just happening.
Cake is
Everyone
mandatory.
knows it's coming from me. It's happening.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, great. How many groups do you think use the hub?
I'd have to think of an actual number, but I can start listing off probably about 10 or so.
10 or so? Mm-hmm. Okay. So events, that's a committee. Mm-hmm. Tell me about, Freedom from Religion Foundation.
Yes.
I've met those guys at the last Pancake Breakfast.
Right.
Secular Sisterhood.
Yes. Secular Sisterhood was actually started by a hub member because she came in and to one of our coffees and communities, and it was just a sea of men, and she goes, I'm finding the ladies and we're making this happen. So
I appreciate it. It's nice.
So do I. We have a lot of the outside organizations: Humanists of Colorado, Denver Atheist, Freedom from Religion Foundation, Recovering from Religion.
The hub, this is a pretty unique setup. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's not anything else like it, like a permanent place.
There are, within the country, there are about 2 or 3 other ones that I know of.
Definitely not around Colorado or anything like that.
No, not here.
Not for miles and miles.
Not for miles and miles. There is one on the East Coast, the Harvard Humanist Hub. So it's obviously associated with Harvard. And then there was one, I haven't looked into them for a while, but there was one in Sacramento as well.
Okay.
And the name of their space is escaping me right now.
Sorry, Sacramento.
Okay. But it's not common. It's not something that you're going to see a plethora of, but it's happening.
Okay. And here, I get you. But here in Denver, you've got people coming from all around, or?
We have had events here where we have attracted people from Wyoming.
Okay.
So it's actually pretty neat. We've had some people who were traveling through the state from Utah, from where were they from? From Texas. They've come here.
Of course they were.
Yeah, they've come here and they said, we've heard about you guys through Meetup, through your website. We heard somebody talk about it on their podcast. We had to see this place for ourselves. Okay. So it happens that people come from far away to see us.
Very nice. Yeah. The Meetup is really cool. Another aside. That's how I heard about it. And
right.
A lot of other people that I've talked to, that's how they heard about it as well.
Exactly.
Even when I was at the Church of Scientology, I was talking to somebody, and they knew about this place.
Really?
And they knew about the Meetup for the
Nice.
Yeah. So
nice. It's the way that you figure out what we're doing. If you don't go to our actual website, before we had our website, you would go through the Meetup.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it. Cool. Do you? How many? Well, let me ask you this: for the events, how many people do you get? For attendance, how big are the groups?
It really depends on what we're doing. If we are doing one of our typical Sunday morning coffees and communities here, I have fairly recently seen them be about 30 to 50 people.
Especially the pancake ones.
The pancake ones, yes.
Yes.
The first of every month, the first Sunday of every month, we have one of our main groups who needs some extra money. They host a pancake breakfast. It's an all-you-can-eat. It's about $8 for members, $10 for non-members, and $4 for kids. And you come in here and you just eat yourself ridiculous until pancakes,
right,
eggs, bacon, sausage.
Bacon is flowing. There's an endless fountain of coffee.
Pretty much.
Pouring.
There's always coffee here. Actually, I think I need to buy more coffee. I think we're only down to one box, so I need to buy more coffee.
Yeah, for sure.
But
what about like your big events when you have like a special speaker come in from out of town or something?
Right.
Like when you pack this place.
So the chairs that we have, the actual ones that we're sitting on, these little blue ones here, when we first opened the doors, we bought 80 of them because I think that was about what our fire marshal told us that we were allowed to have in here, about 80-ish. Yeah, whatever. We'll just all pray if there's a fire. It's fine.
There's two exits. You can stampede out of both of them.
Right. If we move all of these tables out of here and set up all of the chairs, we can get a nice little audience here. We have had people fill up all the chairs, sit in our couches, bring the office chairs from the front, and just pack the house, stand along the back walls. So we have just standing room only in here. We've been up to that, and it's incredible every single time. We've never really had arguments breaking out. Oh, I don't have a chair. Well, I'll just stand. I'm happy to be here. So
okay, yeah. It just as far as arguments go, I've never witnessed one. I've been coming here since about last October.
Yeah.
It's usually a really friendly atmosphere. I suppose people try. I guess what I would say that I've observed is that the individual group members try really hard to make it a nice space.
Right.
I've never seen anybody being nasty or anything like that. If that, no. I mean, can you speak to that at all? I mean, I guess just the atmosphere in general and how people act when they're around here, because it seems like a really open and accepting sort of place.
We try to make it like that. Do we always succeed? Maybe not. You got to think about it. The only thing that really everyone here has in common is we don't have a belief in a higher power. That's it.
Right.
We've had pro-gun, we've had anti-gun, we've had conservative, we've had liberal, we've had Republican, we've had Democrat, we've had just plethora of different viewpoints have come through
opinions.
These doors, and that's fine. The main thing that we try here is if someone makes a claim, try to have some evidence to back it up, because you may be challenged. You will be challenged.
Yes,
I will have to say that.
That's true. That is very true.
That is very true. If you make a claim, you better be able to back it up, because we are a lot of skeptic people here. So, but for the most part, when we do have a coffee community, when we do have a party, when we do have a lecture, people are courteous to one another from what I have seen. Have we had some people get offended? Sure. Have we had some people be blunt with one another and somebody take it the wrong way? Totally.
Okay.
We've never had an all-in-out brawl. There's never been violence here. We may have had a few people who are like, I'm never coming back. And
you could set up a pretty good ring in here.
Maybe
an octagon. Anyway.
I think I could take you, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, that was when I first came in. I came in for the Tell Your Story night. Mm-hmm. I did that a few different. It took me a couple of years, but
yeah, I remember.
It did really seem like anybody is willing to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
Not be too judgmental. Especially, you have people who are coming from a lot of different backgrounds. People who are in the process of either deconverting or coming out. Maybe they've only told a couple people. Maybe this is the first time they've ever associated willingly with atheists.
The words,
or sometimes just self-identifying using the term atheist is like a big step for people. So
and I do need to point out we're not, everybody here is not an atheist.
Good point.
So it's not like I'm sitting here making someone call themselves an atheist. We give them the opportunity to have a space where they are not the only ones who think that way. Okay. They can ask questions and determine well, where the hell am I on this plane of...
Right, because it's a process.
It is a process. And I grew up in religion. It took me a long time to finally admit, F it, I'm an atheist.
Yeah. And now you're proud about it. You're bold.
I just censored myself. I am known in the hub as cursing with love.
Okay.
So I'm censoring myself right now. But absolutely, I am most definitely an atheist.
Okay. Fantastic. All right,
Totally.
cool. Where do you see the future of the hub going?
I would love to see the hub grow in membership. We are at about, I can't see our thing. We're about can you see that? Like 200 and something ish. We really want to have members. Dues paying members. That's how we keep our lights on. That's how we keep the doors open. It's not all still going off of the founders' money.
Not anymore.
We still have some of it, but it still needs to be sustainable.
You're not living off the interest from that $21,000.
Exactly.
Too bad.
But we want to have more members, and the more members we have, then the more space we're going to need. So something that I would love to see happen personally, not necessarily speaking as a board member right now, I would love to see us buy our own space instead of renting. As we like our landlords, they like us, we like our neighbors, they like us, everything's fine. We like our location. I just want us to be able to have more than one event happening at one time here. Because that right now is one of our biggest things when people want to use the hub. Because
it's a big room.
It's one big room. And, like I said, we have the smaller offices up front. You can have maybe a small committee meeting up in the front while something else is going on out here. But it's not like those walls are soundproof.
Sure.
Right? You can still hear stuff. But to be able to have something going on in like the main room and then have smaller rooms down the hall where the AA group can meet or the Secular Sisterhood group can meet, or even having one big kitchen and then two like medium-sized spaces so that we can have two parties going on at one time.
That'd be great.
That would be awesome because right now what we're having to do is saying, I'm sorry, AA, you can't have the space at this time because Freedom from Religion is having the space at this time.
Right.
So, we're having to turn people away, which sucks, but it's a great problem to have. Don't get me wrong. But it sucks, and I want to be able to have the room to be able to do more things.
Cool. Yeah, and I guess the more members you get, the stronger the individual groups get, the stronger the hub gets.
Exactly.
I like it. I like it a lot. Cool. And then what do you think about the podcast? What do you think it means for the hub?
I think it's a good way to really show what's happening here, because I think sometimes people who don't know who we are, they come to Coffee and Community. And Coffee and Community is exactly how it sounds. It's coffee and it's talking.
Right.
That's it. There's really no game plan,
Actually,
no program.
If you try to do anything during Coffee and Community, it's not going to happen because people are going to come up and interrupt you and ask you how the wife is. Oh, you mean me personally? No, I mean everybody.
Okay.
It's like the event is custom designed to have as many interruptions as possible, as many opportunities for people to interrupt each other and cut each other.
I have
but
tried
it's friendly.
to pull
it's
out
very
my
friendly.
laptop and get work done on a Sunday morning. It is impossible.
Yeah.
There's always, Ruth, where's the coffee?
Oh, well,
Ruth,
you
where's
especially. You're the vice chair.
Because I know where everything is. That's one of the things. But for the podcast, I think would be a great way for people to really see what's going on, depending on how you guys run the podcast. If you talked more to individuals here, our members here, if you had clips of the events that are going on and what's going on, it would give people a better idea of who we are and what we're doing.
Sure.
That we're not just a bunch of atheists, sacrificing babies or something like that.
Or
just sitting around talking about
Thursdays,
how much.
Right?
Thursdays movie nights.
Oh, okay.
Last Friday.
Okay.
Hub hangs. Yeah.
Hub hangs.
No, but I think a lot of times, even my own parents are guilty of this. They say, "Oh, a community center for atheists." So you just sit around and talk about how you hate God all day?
Right.
Absolutely not.
It kind of lends itself towards that sort of lazy bias thinking that we're all guilty of from time to time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, okay.